Hi, December 15th. Last week, couldn't get it done. Busy, busy schedule, holidays, basketball, school, all kinds of commitments. But this week, we're here. A couple of months ago, I ran into a website based on Boo asking questions about what are the stories from your life. And this particular website by Brendan Bouchard talks about interviewing someone you've loved. And there are 32 questions on this particular posting. And I thought I'd attempt to answer a couple of those in these YouTube channel posts that we do. So today I'm going to answer number 16, which says, what do you remember about each of us as we were born? Well, okay, here we go. I have 3 children. The first thing I remember with my first child, Sonya, was how tiny she was. Cheryl, my wife, had toxemia, and Sonya, was about 2 weeks early. It was an induced labor. I remember having a scar on my hand or my forearm from my wife grabbing me and holding tight during each contraction. So, gentlemen, in the future, have your lady cut her fingernails before she goes into labor. If she gets a hold of you, save you some scars. But about Sonya specifically, I remember how tiny she was. She came out at 5 pounds 11 ounces, and I remember holding her hand in my hand, and she went from my fingertip to not even the middle of my forearm. And I go, man, this thing is going to change my life, and she did, and for the better. So that's what I remember about Sonya and her birth, is that how tiny she was. Laura, who was our largest birth, if you will, or Sherilyn's largest birth, I got to watch. So her delivery was a little bit different. It was a little bit more complicated. There were more people in and out. When she was born, the nurse kind of swept her away. There were some difficulties at the delivery, and a little bit of panic. But everything turned out fine. And things happened pretty quickly, and I went out to go visit with Sonya, our firstborn, who was in the waiting room with her grandmother. And I remember just being so happy. Tears were flowing down my eyes and flowing down my cheeks, not my eyes. And I remember holding Sonya so tight, and I just couldn't stop crying. I was so happy. And that was my fondest moment there. I didn't let Sherilyn grab my hand during contractions. Instead, she grabbed onto the bed rail that didn't move, and she'd move that thing every 6 inches, every contraction. And the next day she woke up and she goes, my shoulder's really sore. I'm going, yeah, honey, that steel bar wasn't supposed to go anywhere. But anyway, then Brad, our third child. I don't recall I think we knew we were going to have a boy. I think we knew the sex of all of our children before they were born. So there was no surprise there. But with Brad, we lived in Lusk, Wyoming, which was 50 miles from a hospital that did childbirth. There was a hospital in Lusk, but they wouldn't deliver a baby, so that meant a 50-mile car ride. And on Brad's birthday, we jumped in the car early in the morning and drove to Torrington, Wyoming, and got down there and had visions of, delivering the child on the roadside, but that didn't happen. We got to the hospital in plenty of time. And probably a fonder memory was that the night before Brad was born, we went for a walk. And people always talk about going for walks with your wife and your spouse, that'll help induce labor. And we're out on the athletic track at Niobrara County High School, and the volleyball team was out there, and they were doing their preseason practices. And I remember Crystal Cooper and Sally Powers were out there, and they were cheering us on because they knew that birth was imminent. Um, and lo and behold, I guess the walk did work, because that morning Brad came. Sherilyn's comment about when we were going down there, she goes, "This is going to be an easy delivery, and I'm going to have breakfast in the hospital." And I'm thinking, yeah, right. I've been at the other two, and been a little bit longer than, 4 a.m. to noon. I was figuring he was going to be delivered somewhere in the late evening. Well, Brad came very quickly, and Sherilyn got her wish. She got to have breakfast before noon in the hospital. Anyway, those are my stories from what do I remember about each of the births of my children. And there's much more to it, but those are some highlights and snippets. So I would like to do this. I'd like to challenge Laura Boo to pick a number 1 through 32 off this list, and together both her and I will answer the question. So, Laura, here's your challenge. All you got to do is pick a number. I'll send you the question. Okay? Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.